Here's the parts layout for the 51-inch Sbach. Here's everything you should have. 2 fuselage halves, 4 KFM 4 airfoil doubler pieces for the wing, a rudder, a motor mount and a tiny triangle, a horizontal fuselage with stab, 2 landing gear pieces, the elevator over here, the aileron, a wing, another aileron, another wing. Then you should have this section, this piece that skins the bottom of the plane, and then 3 rectangles. This piece, 4 KFM4 doublers for the stab, 2 canopy pieces, 2 canopies, and then these 2 canopy doublers. I'm starting with the horizontal fuselage and elevator. And the first step, I'm going to strengthen them. Here's a thin carbon fiber stick, or strip, and that I'm going to install here to strengthen this point, because that's a little weak. And then I've also made a groove in the elevator so I can install a carbon tube down in the elevator. Finishing up this piece, you got the tubes installed, and then in the middle of this tab, make a slightly oversized slot to fit a carbon tube, and make it a little oversized. And I've hinged the elevator with tape on the top and on the bottom. So then that's pretty much all there is to do with this piece, so we can move on now. Next, I'm going to do the canopy. So you need 2 canopy pieces, and then these 2 pieces, and you also need this rectangle, and most of the rectangles are 5 inches wide from here to here. This one's 5 1/4, and it's a little bigger. Also, it's about 14 inches long. So this is the one that's 5 1/4 by 14 or so. To start with the canopy installation, take one of these pieces and then you glue the canopy piece to it so that the canopy piece is on top, and this hangs out a little more than 1/4 inch on both sides. So glue it on about like that, and make sure to make a left piece and a right piece. I've glued this back piece onto the canopy side. I made this a little less than 1/4 inch, or about 1/4 inch I mean. This isn't really critical, this distance. And then here's the other side. Now you may have to, you might not. I had to cut this down a little bit so that this piece will be able to fit on. So what you're going to do is you're going to have this like this. And on this piece, I'm going to take a ruler and move it down here, and then take a pencil, kind of a dull pencil, and just scrape it up a bunch of times so you can kind of get it to bend. I've made a bunch of lines with a pencil, just doing this with a ruler down this. So now you can kind of start to bend it a little easier. So we can try and get it to form around the canopy like this. And then you can kind of work it with your hands. Take your time or the foam will just snap. So take your time, work it a lot. If you want, you can use a hairdryer lightly on this side with the lines, and then use a hairdryer to soften it a little bit while you try and bend it. I worked it with my fingers a little bit and used a hairdryer on this one, and now it's nice and flexible, and you can kind of at least get it to bend around the canopy. And to glue it in, make sure you're gluing it not on this side, but on this side, and glue it actually on the canopy on top of it like this, not out here, up here. If you got that done, it looks good, then nice job. That was one of the harder parts of this whole build. So then Once you have this bent around there like that, the next step is to just install your other side of the canopy. Just glue it on like that. And then you will have to kind of reform it to this side a little bit to get it to fit nicely. But you're pretty much, that was one of the harder parts, so this build is coming along nicely. I just sanded the canopy down and then painted it blue with the airbrush, but it doesn't hardly look blue. So set the canopy aside, and these are the landing gear pieces. And if you want to install landing gear, I'm not on mine, but if you want to install landing gear, bend your landing gear wire, lay it down in one of these pieces and press it down as hard as you can. And then put lots of glue on this and stick it in here. So your landing gear wire is sandwiched in there. Now, I'm not going to do landing gear, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing, but I'm not going to add the wire, so I'm just going to stick these in here. But if you want landing gear, install your landing gear wire sandwiched in between these two plates. I don't really have any more landing gear to do, so I'm ready to go on to the next step. I got the horizontal fuse and the stab again, and I got the motor mount piece and the landing gear block. If you're installing landing gear, I would wait to install the landing gear block with your landing gear in it. I would just put that aside for a few more steps, only if you're using landing gear. If you're not using landing gear, glue this in now. And then this piece just slides on the nose, and this piece slides up from the bottom into this slot. Make sure those are square and glue those in. I've got the motor mount installed here and then the landing gear block glued in. Now, on the motor mount, this is optional, but I recommend it. Here's some triangle balsa wood stock. I'm just going to glue it, one on there, and then I have one for the bottom. Just stick a little wood in there just to strengthen the motor mount. That'll make it a plane quite a bit more durable. That stiffened it up quite a bit, and I really recommend doing that. Even if it's square sticks, just glue some sticks in there. That hugely strengthened this piece a lot. So now we can put this, well actually we can't put this aside for a second and get out one of the vertical fuselage sides. In the fuselage assembly, the fold line on the instructions started at this point on the fuselage, the back of the canopy, and then went straight down. So what you're going to do is take, again, a dull pencil and make one score mark on the inside of one of the fuselages. This score line that I made, it's a little deeper, if you notice, than the ones I made on that canopy. So make it a little deeper and then hold it and very, very slowly kind of work it so that it'll be able to kind of fold like this on that fold line. And then on the back, if you notice, there's a slot. The slot is about, I'd say 3/16 or so short. So what you're going to have to do is work on this slot, holding it up to the horizontal fuselage, and slowly make this slot bigger until it lines up perfectly. It's a little bit of trial and error there, but just open up the slot just until it lines up. I installed this side of the fuselage, and I would slowly work that slot until it's cut it out until it's just big enough. And what you want is the end of the fuselage should hang past this hinge line a tiny bit, and your fold line should line up with this crease, and the wing slot should line up with this edge, and your landing gear blocks should be able to fit perfectly into that slot. And then when all that lines up, leave the slot where it is. So what I'm going to do now is cut a little notch out of here and a little notch out of this upper side, just a little bit so that this moves completely freely. Just open this up a little bit just so we won't have any problems with the elevator moving and it will never bind. Got this side of the fuselage installed. Make sure it doesn't bind at all. You can get at least 45 degrees of travel. And then make sure that the wing slot will line up. And it should look like this. So first what I'm going to do is tack it. Just put little drops of glue or just a tiny strip of glue back here to hold that in place. And then slide if you haven't installed your landing gear blocks, you're doing landing gear, now's the time to install it. So I'm going to stick my landing gear block in there like that, and then tack or glue in this section here and glue in the section back there. I glued the section here and here, and then I glued the landing gear plate here and over here, and then these weights are just to keep it down over here. So, looking good. Now, if you are doing landing gear, take some of this stock, the triangle stuff, and put it along here, along here, and along here, and along here, and along here, or at least along here and here, just to hold this piece in really well. So, we're pretty much ready to glue this whole seam. I'm going to start by gluing this area up here, and then I might put some triangle stock along here to strengthen the motor mount. I don't know, we'll just have to see how this turns out. So I've glued this whole section here, 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 and then along the top. So this whole front section is pretty much done. And then make sure you set this one lined up here, and make sure that this thing is straight, like so it isn't down like this. Make sure that it's nice and straight, and then glue this whole line along there and there, and reinforce this section up here if you want to. And if you notice, the canopy can kind of fit in there like that. So that's all for this video. So the next video is coming soon.